Simon, can you write the answer?
Senior?
Please senior.
0, 0,
0, 0.
4, 1, 0, 0, 0.
0, 0. I'm thinking 70 adult.
Fourth one, sir. Will be.
Do you remember that we have discussed about the picture statement?
Yes, sir.
I told you that time 0, 0. What is that each 0 represents?
Starting.
Range values. If you want to have the value and the data also, the data value also, we use the picture statement. Remember that time I want to get marks and the class both. Or I want to have a space between the phone, what you call mobile number values. Remember we use the picture statement. So actually, 0 to high, 70 to high, I have 3 0 senior. But what is the data value? 70. Then how it is going to represent?
70.
0 7 0. 0 7 0 senior. Do you have a 0 7 0 senior anywhere?
Second option. Second option.
Sir, voice is not audible. Yeah, I want to have low to 13. I want to have it as a junior. I'm letting say for example 14 to high. I want to have it as an A. Senior. You know what are the age values that we have in the age variable of self-employed class?
11 to 16.
Now tell me when we have 11, how it is going to display?
Junior. 11 to 13, junior. 14 to 16,
Only
senior.
junior. Only junior.
11, 12, 13.
0 11 junior.
Junior. 14 to
0.
16 are senior. 1, 1 junior.
1 1 junior. What about this?
Each 0 represents 1%.
So when we have a age 11, what will happen now? It is going to be 0 1 1, 0 2 2, 0 0 3. So 1 second. Can you see? That time we have written like, 9 each 9 represents 1 digits. I told you, when I write 999, it is going to print, if you do not have value there, it is going to print 0. Otherwise, it is going to print whatever the value. Since we have a triple line, it used to print like, if you have a 11, 0, 1, 1, 14, 0, 1, 4. But when we have a 0, it is going to print what value? It is going to print to 70, right?
Sir, somebody is waiting, sir.
Nobody is waiting. I'm not getting any request. Can you tell me what the syntax we should write for this one, anybody?
Place is equal to flight, data is equal to London.
Which program? On the right side.
Second,
Which program appends worker London to flights? So,
base
is equal to
of
flight.
flight, data is equal to London.
Where we have that one?
First one only, sir. Base is equal to flight, data is equal to London.
We can write, base and data
Any
equals to
order.
flight. Can you tell me the output of this one? Which variables will appear in the data set worker.new? Where it proc transpose the data is equal to data set name, out is equal to new data set name run.
Underscore name underscore is equal to year, Jan, Feb, March, April.
Underscore label.
Column 1 to call 1 to call 3. Call 3.
So in underscore name underscore what you can find?
Year, Jan, Feb, March, April. The variables, names.
Which variables will appear in the data set worker.new?
Underscore name underscore and underscore label.
Underscore name underscore. Call 1, call 2, call 3.
Very good. So when you transpose, by default it will transpose all the numerical variables. I think here we have all 4 numerical variables. By default we get 3 automatic variables, underscore name underscore label underscore call 1 to call n. But here we do not have, we can, since we have 3 observations, it is going to be from call 1, call 2, call 3. And these 5 variables is going to come on underscore name underscore. So underscore name underscore call 1, call 2, call 3. Can somebody tell me what is that one? In the current session, SAS session, output is being sent in HTML file. Which ODS statement can be used to stop additional output from being sent to the same file?
ODS HTML close.
Very good. ODS HTML close. The variable ID code contains values such as 123 FA and 321 MB. The fourth character identifies sex. How do you assign these character codes to a new variable named sex?
Substr of ID code, comma, 4, comma 1.
4, 1, because the fourth character is the sex value. Here we have F and we have M. I want to cut it from the fourth position. I want to have only one character F or M. Substr of ID code, comma 4, 1. Where we have that one?
Second one, sir.
Second one. Why most of the people are not talking at all? It's given, the given block means that produces a report. Which ODS statement completes and sends the report to a HTML file. The output now నా desktop మీద HTML విండోలోకి వెళ్ళండి. ఏం కోడ్ రాస్తారు? 7 PM batch.
ODS HTML file.
ODS HTML
Part of file. Files.
what are all the sponsor file?
In file, sir. ODS HTML file and part of the file.
ODS HTML file is equal to the path of HTML or file reference. Can you remember? We have done 20 proc print and 20 proc report also. Which one you should write?
Part of the folder, sir.
Path of the folder. Which option is the right answer?
Second option.
Second.
Option.
When ODS HTML file is equal to the path. Which of the given title statement correctly refers the macro variable month? We are discussing macros, right?
Ampersand month.
Which statement?
Fourth statement within. No, second statement. Third one, sir.
Model 1 is the right answer. So we should always write the titles within the quotations. But if you want to resolve that macro variable, you should use only
Double quotation.
double quotations. Can you remember I told you in the starting? If you want to resolve any macro variable, that macro variable must be present. If you are writing that in a title, it should be in double quotations. Which of the given statements is true about the techniques that are used for modifying data and attributes? Data ni modify cheyali, attributes ni kuda modify cheyali.
Proc data sets.
Why proc data sets? Proc data sets, can you modify data? Can we modify attributes by proc data sets?
Can update the
Yes. Data set.
You can use the data set to modify only variable attributes?
No, sir. Both the values and data and variable.
Yes. Second statement is not correct. What about the third one?
Third one. Yes, sir. Third one is correct.
You can use data set to modify both the data values and variable.
Variable attributes.
Which of the given statements is false? A macro variable can be defined and referenced anywhere in a SAS program except within data lines. A macro variable always user defined and their values remains constant until they are changed by the user. Macro variables are text strings that are independent of SAS datasets. The values of macro variables can be up to 65,534 characters long. Which statement is false?
System defined also. They are system defined also, not always user defined.
We have system defined automatic macro variables also. Can you name few system defined macro variables?
System.
So you can write a macro variable anywhere in the program except in data lines. Okay, this is the right answer. And this is wrong because we have a system defined automatic macro variable also. And you know that macro variables are always
character value.
The values of macro can be up to, I told you, a character can have double to the base as value, which is 65,500 and which of the defined statement will complete the program and produce proc report output as shown below? I think I didn't capture it completely. నాకు ప్రాపర్ బిట్స్ కావాలి, లేబుల్స్ కావాలి, అలైన్మెంట్ కావాలి, ఫార్మాట్ అప్లై చేయాలి, ఇవన్నీ కావాలంటే ఏ స్టేట్మెంట్ రాయాలి? Define statement errors on variable name, /,
label.
They don't use label.
Justify.
Style of group రాశారు, style group అయిందా? Group రాసి ఏమని తెలుసా? ఆల్ఫాబెటికల్ ఆర్డర్ రావాలి. Either style in alphabetical order?
No.
So this is the wrong answer. What about the second style? Obvious ka style character గా ఇందులో ఉంటుందని యూజ్ చేద్దాం.
Display.
Not even across in the sense of we should have, multiple multiple values. We don't have that one. Style order, that is also wrong answer. Which is the right answer?
Second.
Give me a quick answer. If I write this program, what is the output? Proc sort data is equal to 1 to data words by descending FNAME points.
FNAME will be in descending order, point will be in
I want to have output. Output around in the Japanese.
First band, Gerard, Ami, and it will be in ascending order, points. So bank 1, bank 2, bank 3, and the Gerard 3, Ami 2.
Ami 1, Ami 2. Because the FNAME should be in a descending order and points is going to be in ascending order.
Ascending order.
So I got one. What is the format I should apply?
Comma.
1,10,700.
Comma 10 dot 2.
Comma 10 dot 2. this is how we are going to have questions in the real time. There is one of the real-time test paper, online exam. Okay, coming back into our macros code, remember what we discussed in the last class?
How to recall macros parameters.
Very good. I told you we can do macros in 3 different ways. What is the best method? First one?
Percentage
Having the code outside, having the code outside the macro, outside the SAS session, writing the percentage include the path of the SAS code or the path of the text file which contains SAS code, so that we can recall the macros from its original location and we can execute it. And what was the second method? Saving the code. Whenever you want to, you can get it.
Autocall libraries.
And third one, we have seen autocall libraries. By the way, how to save a macro for a particular library? How to save options yum stored, SAS yum store is equal library name, and whenever you're developing a macro, after the parenthesis, parameters, parenthesis, forward slash, what is the option you should write? Store. But if you write only store option, whenever whoever wants to see the macro code, they cannot see that, but when they can see it?
Source
option. But when you give a source option, now we can see, but how to see a macro code?
Again, we have to write the options. SAS auto is equal to
No. We should use the percentage copy, macro name, forward slash,
source.
so that the code will print in the log window. Now, whatever the macro that is present in a permanent library, how we can recall that macros into current session?
Percentage include.
No, percentage options, yum store, SAS, yum store is equal to library. We call it again options. SAS auto is equal to everything, so that we can use in the current session. So this is what we have seen in the last class, isn't it? Now, after that, we are going to discuss the next very important concept, interview point of view and real-time, point of view also, SAS debugging options. What do you mean by bug? What do you mean by bug? Error. What do you mean by bug?
Error, like
An error. What do you mean by debugging?
rectifying the error, removing.
Identifying and rectifying the error is called debugging. A bug is an error in the program. And debugging is identifying and rectifying the error is called debugging. Why we require debugging? Generally, in most of the MNC companies, CRO companies, somebody, most experienced person is going to develop the macros for the entire project. We don't write macros every time. If I read project, we are going to have a reference macro code. Somebody, the most senior person, experienced person in the company, he will develop the macro and he is going to put the macro in some location. Now, by using percentage include, we are going to recall that macro for our current task. When you recall that one, he developed the macro on certain example, certain data. But your data now is different. Your variables are different. Your data sets are different. Your library is different. But the overall code will be the same. So when you're using a macro which has been already developed for some other purpose, so when you're trying to use that macro, then what you will do, you will change the parameter values. But sometimes when you change the parameter values, so you may get confused because it is going to be, so multifold in real-time macro. So the next two things we'll see from the Monday onwards. So when you're using that macro, if you get stuck with any error in the real time, it will take hours together to identify that error, to rectify that error. But we have few options to make our job easy to understand, to identify the error. Because in the real time, if you develop macro by yourself, since you develop, you will come to know what are the parameters that you have given, where you have given, how we have given, you can understand. But if somebody develops the macro, you didn't write the code from the scratch. You are trying to use somebody's macro, so you are seeing for the first time, you don't know what parameters and how they use it, where they use it, you may not understand that one. So when you try to apply, definitely you are going to get an error. And identifying that error, rectifying that error will take hours together. To simplify that one, so now we have few debugging options, macro debugging options in SAS. By using the debugging options, generally we can find out the errors easy and you can rectify them. At any given point of the time, always try to write a bug-free program. As I said, if you are developing your own macro, you are going to try from the starting to end. So everything is going to be under your control. So you can write a bug-free program. And I told you in the starting itself, in the real time, how much pro you are, how much professional experienced person that you are. Always try to write in a sequential, proper order of a macro. And I told you, whenever you want to develop a macro, what is the first thing you should do? First of all, you should write a code. And you should always check the base SAS code. That's the best method of writing that one. And gradually, one step. So execute this base SAS code. And if the base SAS code got successfully executed, and try to apply macros one step after the other. So I told you, once you written the base SAS code, when you executed it, if it got successfully executed, on top of the base SAS code, I told you, please write a percentage macro, and then write the macro name, whatever the name you want to write the macro name. And if you require parameters, now write the parameters. Either you can write the position parameters, or you can write the keyword parameters in a proper order. And if it is a position parameter, so simply you can parameter separated by comma. If you are writing a keyword parameter, every time you should write parameter is equal to symbol, and then you should write a comma. And I told you, we can also write a mixed parameter. If you have one of the interview, they ask how many types of parameters that we have. He didn't aware about the keyword, mixed it. He asked about only two types of parameters. What we have generally two types of parameters, we have position and keyword. And then he asked her, tell me the difference between positional and keyword parameters. What is the difference between positional and keyword parameters?
Positional, we need to write the order which we have it.
When you're invoking the macro, you should give the values in the same order. Right? And I told you once I've given the parameters, what we should do, we should apply those macros by proceeding with the ampersand symbol. And then after, why we write that ampersand symbol? What does it mean? And what does it mean? If you're writing ampersand symbol, what does it mean? That is now it is a macro variable. And I told you, parameters are nothing but local macro. You go to macro variables already. But these are the local, we use that within the program like this. So now, wherever we want to, now we are going to use that macro parameters as a macro variables within the code. And then, what we are going to write now, again, one more time, we should write the percentage amend. I told you we should one more time, macro name. And then we should, end with the semicolon. And then what we should do? Again, if you one more time, if you want, you can also write one more time, macro underscore name, so that the macro is going to be getting low.
Parameters.
Always try to write the bug-free program. But how much case that we have taken in the real time, definitely we are going to come across some errors. As I said, when you have an error, it is going to be very difficult to identify that one. So now what we should do? To identify that errors, we have some help from the SASO, and that is called as the name debugging options. We have some global options. On the left side, I am going to write the default value. On the right side, I am going to write how we can change that one. By default, we are going to have M error, and we can change that into no M error. By default, we are going to have S error. If you want, you can change it as a no S error. By default, we are going to have no mlogic. If you want, you can change it as a mlogic. By default, we are going to have no mprint. If you want mprint, we can change it as a mprint. By default, we are going to have no symbol gen. But if you want, you can change it as a symbol gen. These are the important debugging macro options that we have. So on the left side, I have given the default values. On the right side, I have given how you can change that into. Very, very important question. Can you tell me how you can debug a macro program? Do you know any debugging options? Is the question that you have to get. Okay. Now we'll see one by one. What are these debugging options? How it is going to be helpful in the real time? Okay. And by the way, I want to create a data set. I want to subset the data every time. Now I will develop a macro for subsetting. Generally, tell me I want to create a new data set called class 1. I want to create this class 1 data set from the SAS third class. So when I'm creating, I want to have only female. So what should I do? What's the program that you need? If now I want to have sometimes males, sometimes I want to have age 12, less than 13, greater than 14. I want to have every time different requirement I have. Now I want to develop a macro. Tell me how many macro parameters you require?
3
parameters. So I'm creating a macro now. We have 3 parameters. So tell me how we can do that one. Percentage macro. I want to have macro name macro 1, that double 1. And how many parameters? 3 parameters. So the original data set. And by the way, what is the condition? What type of parameters I'm giving here?
Positional parameters.
Positional parameters. Now data, I'm writing ampersand. And here. Second. Ampersand.
Ampersand.
I'm writing a percentage. What should I write? I'm selecting this program, execute this program, and macro will be created by default in the work library in a SAS MESTR catalog folder. Now this is the macro. Now I want to use the macro. By the way, I want to create a class 1 data set now. Okay, I want to create a class 1 data set in the work library. There I want to have only male students. Tell me how we can do that one. Percentage.
Parameters. Macro level. Class 1. Class 1. Class 1. Set class. Percentage STR of percentage is equal to female. Percentage STR of sex is equal to M.
First of all, I'm executing this program. Now I'm expecting a class 1 data set. What I'm expecting the class 1 data set?
Males only. Males.
But is the data set has been created? Is the data set has been created?
No.
In the work library? No. I want to check what exactly happened. I will go to the log window. In the log window, this is the error that I have. Can you read, first of all, warning? What is the warning that we have?
Apparent invocation of macro.
Apparent invocation of macro MAC1L not resolved. You know why? By default, we are going to have a global option called options. We have a global option called ML. What is ML option with you? When you are trying to invoke a macro name, which is not available in the current session, it will issue a warning in the log window saying that invocation of that macro key is not available. What is the macro I'm using here?
MAC 1.
MAC? Here, I created a macro called MAC11, right? Mac 11. But here, what is that I'm writing?
Mac 1.
This is 1L. This is not 1. Okay, so I created a Mac 11, but I'm trying to use a Mac 11. Do we have a Mac 11 in the current session?
No.
Okay, what is the macro we have?
Mac 1.
Mac 11. But I'm trying to use a macro called Mac 11. This is not present in the current session. So now by default we are going to have an error option. Because we have an error by default in the log window, it will throw a warning. Can you see what is the warning that we have? Apparent invocation of macro 1L not resolved. So can you see what it is showing? Macro 1L. Because we don't have a macro 1L. What is the macro that we have right now?
Mac 11.
Mac 11 we have. So I'm trying to switch off this option. If I switch off this option, even though you have an error, it will not issue any warning in the log window. Now see, I'm executing this program now. I'll go to the log window. Though I have an error, is it throwing any warning now?
No.
See, I'm going to delete the log window. I'm executing the program again. Even though you have an error, is it throwing any warning? No. Because we switched off that error option. I changed that into no error. So by default, by default we are going to have an error when this option is on, when this option is present. When you're trying to invoke a macro name which is not available in the current session, it will issue a warning in the log window. Apparent invocation of the macro is not resolved. Can you see now we have the warning now? So that by seeing that warning, now we can understand, okay, I'm trying to use a macro which is not available in the current session, so I will check that macro, yes, as an ESR catalog folder, we have a Mac 11, I'm going to change that into Mac 11, now I'm executing this program, since we do not have any error, now what is going to happen now? In the work library, it will create a class data set, now we are going to have only female male observations. Understand this one, ML option? By default, ఎలా ఉంటుందండి? Global option, ML ఉంటుంది. ఆ ML option ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తుందండి? It will issue a warning in the log window when you try to use a macro which is not available. లేని macro కనుక యూజ్ చేస్తారనుకోండి, ఏం చేస్తున్నది? It will issue a warning. Understand this one?
Sir, no ML మనం ఆప్షన్ పెట్టిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ చేంజ్ చేసుకోవాలి.
Global option కదా, if you want to change it again back, you should write either ML you should write or you should close the cache and you should reopen it again.
Okay.
Just like any other global option. Remember we have seen like say the page size, center, no center, date, number, like that one. Here cut off. Clear everybody? So it is the default ML ఉంటుందండి. ఏం చేస్తుంది ML? When you are invoking a macro name which is not available in the current session, it will issue a warning in the log window. Clear everybody?
సార్ అది ఇష్యూ చేస్తే మనం ప్రాబ్లం రిజాల్వ్ చేయడానికి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది సార్. దాని ఎందుకు మనం నో ఎర్రర్ గా యూజ్ చేయాలి?
No, I am telling by default ఉంటుంది. You can also turn it off.
Okay.
By default we are going to have it. If you do not require it, you can turn it off. But we don't do that in general.
Okay.
Clear everybody? Okay. Now the next option, say for example, now this time I am developing a macro. Okay. Again, just imagine I am developing again the same macro. I am getting, say for example, data. I want to create a class 2 data set. So I am creating again from the class. Now every time I have a different requirement, I will write condition, then I am writing the run statement. So again this time I want to develop a macro. I am writing percentage macro. I am writing a macro in Mac 11. I want to have 3 parameters, so ds1, ds2, condition. And then data, what should I write now? Ampersand ds1, ampersand
ds2,
ampersand ds2. But what I have written there? So I have given a parameter called ds2, but I am writing that one. When I am writing that one, I am writing ampersand dm2. Do we have a dm2 here? No. That is a mistake I think. So this is a common mistake that we do in the real time. I am writing percentage meant I am writing a Mac 11 one more time. By the way, when I am creating one more macro, already we have a Mac 11. Now what is going to happen? Now the new macro is going to override the old macro. Okay. Now I am trying to use this macro. By the way, I want to have a class 2 data set. There I want to have only age for students. Tell me what is how we should macro? You should use the macro percentage. Percentage. Mac 11. Open the parenthesis. I want to have a class 2, comma, from where I am creating. What is the requirement? Percentage, str, open the parenthesis. So here age is equal to, so I will close the parenthesis 2 times. So now executing and expecting class 2 data set. There I'm expecting 5 observations, but unfortunately I didn't get it. You can check the log window. This is the warning I have. Can you see what is the warning that we have?
The data set
Can you see the warning?
maybe
Symbolic reference DM2 not resolved. This is the warning I'm going to get. You know why I'm getting this warning?
by default we use different parameters.
So different parameter. You know why? Because by default we are going to have a global option called yes error. Yes error. ML is for macro name. Yes error is for the parameter. Okay. ML దేనికోసం పనిచేస్తుందండి? Macro name కోసం వర్క్ అవుతుంది. Yes error దేనికోసం అండి? The parameter. If you are wrongly invoking a parameter value, so because I have given parameter ds2, but I am using it as a dm2. So by default yes error ఉంటుంది. Now by seeing this warning, now we can understand, okay, I might have given the wrong value in the code. So by checking that we can understand. So if ఇక్కడ కూడా ds2 ఇచ్చారనుకోండి, now since we do not have any error, what you are going to get now? We are going to get the data set now. Can you say, do we have that one? Do we have that warning? First of all, we don't have. But if I give a wrong one, now since we have an error, it will issue a warning. Of course, we get a lot of errors, that is okay. But now by seeing the warning, you can understand. Apparently symbolic reference of dm2 not resolved. But by by default we are going to have an error. If you want, what we can do? No error. If you change that into no error, even though you have an error, it will not issue any warning in the log. Can you see now there is no warning now? Do you understand the difference between MR and SRR? MR is for what? Macro name. SRR is macro parameter. Okay? Okay. Now, I am writing the same code again. Say for example, the same code I'm taking here. I'm writing, mac 11. So for example, I'm deleting all my previous macros. Of course, the macro will not be, we should close the session, but okay. I'm writing DS here also. I'm writing DS2. But sometimes we develop the macro, we are going to apply those macro parameters in our program by using a percentage symbol. And then, when you're using the macro code, you will get confused. You don't know what is the macro parameter and what is the value for it. Macro parameter key, a value, though, you may not understand. But I want to know what is the value of each parameter. Say, for example, now this is my program I'm writing. I'm writing now percentage mac 11. Then I'm writing within the parentheses. I want to have a data set called cars1, comma. I'm creating this from the SAS.cars data set, comma. And then I'm writing, make is equal to, I'm writing, say, for example, BMW. I'm writing make is equal to BMW. But how we should the BMW? Since I'm writing is equal to symbol, we should enclose that one within the parentheses. Then how we should that one? Then we should write the percentage. Percentage. Yes, dear. Now can you tell me what is the value of DS1? What is the value of DS1? What is the value of the DS2? What is the value of condition? CVND? Make value BMW. Now, in the real time, it is going to be very hard to identify that value. So, if you know, generally my program is everything is correct. If I do the program, of course, I'm going to get the data set called cars1. What is the problem I do? Sorry.
Percentage.
Yeah. Now, if I do the program, yes, of course, I'm going to get the data set. Here, I'm going to have a BMW cost. Everything is fantastic, but I want to know what is the value of each parameter. If you want to know that one, now we are going to, by default, we are going to have an option called mlogic. Sorry, no mlogic. Now I'm changing that mlogic into mlogic. So what is going to happen if I change that into mlogic? Now after changing that mlogic, I'm executing the program again one more time. Of course, you will get the data set, that is okay. But if you go to the log window, now mlogic is going to print each parameter and its value. Now can you see, we have mlogic at the beginning execution. We have parameter DS1. What is the value of the DS1? Parameter DS2 has a value of? And the parameter condition has a value of? Make BMW. So, if you want to know what a parameter and what is its value, what is the option you should write now? You should write mlogic. When this option is on, SAS prints in the log window the details of the macro parameter and its value. Macro parameter and its value. Understand this one? A parameter ki A value, though log window print chestundi. Clear? Okay. Now, the next option that we are going to have is by default we have an option called no. By the way, I'm changing the mlogic into no mlogic because by default we are going to have, if you have a no mlogic, it will not print any information in the log window. Can you see? There is no such information. And now we have one more option called, by default we are going to have an option called no mprint. By default we have an option called no mprint. What is this mprint option will do? Generally, some of us, we are very good at the base SAS code. But when it comes to the macros, we may get confused. But if the same code it is in a base SAS, I can easily understand. So I told you, remember in the starting, in macros we have two important components. One is the macro language and the second one is macro processor. When you write the code in macro that is called macro language, we always write the code in macro language and we submit that, and as soon as we submit that one, the macro language code will go and communicate with the macro processor, and I tell you, this macro processor will convert your macro code into base SAS code. Now, whatever the macro processor, change in the base SAS code, I want to see the base SAS code. So if you want to see the base SAS code, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the default option of no mprint into mprint. What is mprint will do? Whatever the macro processor changes the base SAS code that we have, it is going to print it in the log window. Now can you see? So that means equivalent to this. What is the base SAS code? This is the base SAS code. Can you see? Data, cars1 semicolon, set, SAS.cars semicolon, if you make is equal to BMW semicolon, run semicolon. Understand this one? And ఏదైతే మీరు బేస్ macro code రాస్తున్నారో ఈ macro code macro processor తో కమ్యూనికేట్ చేసిన తర్వాత automatically it is going to get converted into base SAS. And that base SAS code will be get printed down into the log window when we have an mprint option. Understand this one? So when this option is on, SAS prints in the log window the standard base as code which is generated by the macro processor. Understand this, everybody? So what is the difference between mlogic and mprint? Mlogic is going to print the macro parameter at its value. And what mprint will do? Mprint will print base as code in the log. Okay, and the next option that we are going to have is by default, or I'll change this into by default option, which is a no imprint. Now I'm going to specify one more global option called no symbol gen. By default, we are going to have no symbol gen. Okay, now I'm changing that no symbol gen into symbol gen. What is symbol gen will do? It will show in the log window what is the macro variable and how it has been resolved into. Macro variable entity, how it has been resolved into. And that means what is the end product, how it has been resolved into, so it is going to show that value. Now, if I execute the program, now in the log window, now do you know how the macro parameter DS1 is going to get resolved? DS1 has a class 1, cars 1. And how the DS will get resolved? Class card. And how has been condition has been resolved? Next equal to BMW. Now say, if I execute the program, now in the log window, now that we are going to have a symbol gen report. This is how we have the symbol gen. Can you please go through this one? Now see, what is symbol gen? Macro variable DS1 resolves to cars 1. Macro variable DS2 resolves to SASL.cars. Macro variable condition CY and D resolves to make is equal to BMW. Now we'll get it out. What is the difference between mlogic and symbol gen? Mlogic will tell you the parameter and its value. Only at the level of the parameter. Parameter A value on the chip tonight. But what the symbol gen will do? How it has been resolved. Value undadam veru, resolve avadam veru. Understand this one?
So how do you
clear, everybody? Yeah. Now I'll show you an example. Okay? It's very, very important in every question. See what I'm going to do. Now I'm writing, percentage let A is equal to B. What is the macro like created here?
A.
And what is its value?
B.
Ampersand B. Now I'm writing percentage let. I'm creating a macro called B, and B is equal to I'm writing C. What is the macro I'm creating?
B.
And what is value?
C.
Very good. Now I'm writing percentage let. Okay? C is equal to A. What is the macro I'm creating here? And what is value?
A.
Very good. Now I'm executing all the three macro variables. So by the way, these are the global macro. I'm writing over A. So these are the global. You can use it anywhere in the program. Now tell me, I'm writing percentage put ampersand A. What is the value? We can see. Sorry, percentage put ampersand A. Now tell me if I execute this program, what is the value I'm going to get in the log window?
B.
Very good. We'll get the value B. Because what is the A value?
B.
Generally, by default in the global options, what is the default symbol? How we are going to have symbol gen? No symbol. By default, we are going to have no symbol gen. So that's why when I execute this program, in the log window, you won't get much information. So you're going to get the value just ampersand A is equal to what is the value B. But now see what I'm doing now, I'm changing that no symbol gen into symbol gen. Okay? Now if I select the program, execute the program. Now if I go to the log window, now can you see what the symbol gen is writing? Macro variable. Yes, resolves to
B.
Okay? Now I'm writing like this one. Percentage put double ampersand A. Remember, in the real time, generally, both single ampersand, double ampersand are same. So single ampersand A will also give the B, double ampersand A also will give the B. Okay. Now if I execute this program, still what is the value I'm going to get? I'm going to get the B. But how it is going to execute? Now the double ampersand is going to become single ampersand. When you execute the program, double ampersand is going to become single ampersand. And then we have an A. So ampersand A is equal to ultimately what is the value?
B.
So that double ampersand, single ampersand is going to give the same answer. Okay. Now I'm writing percentage put. This is called multiple ampersand concept. I'm writing 3 ampersand A. How many ampersand I have given now? 3. Now what is going to happen? It will execute from the left side to right side. Now the rule is if you have 2 ampersands, now those 2 ampersands are going to become 1 ampersand. So 2 ampersands కలిసి ఏమవుతుంది ఇప్పుడు 1 ampersand అవుతుంది. So ఇది 2 అయిపోయిన నెక్స్ట్ ఏముంది ఇక్కడ? Ampersand A is what?
B.
Okay. Now it is going to be ampersand B. ఎందుకంటే these 2 ampersands going to become 1 ampersand and ampersand A value is but B. Now it has become ampersand B. Now what is ampersand B?
C.
Now what the value is going to get now?
C.
Now see, if I execute the program in the log window, now the symbol is going to print. Now see, double ampersand has become
Ampersand.
what is the ampersand? Now left side of the 2 ampersands can be very So now we have ampersand A. So macro A resolves to B. Now we have ampersand B. Now ampersand B is equal to what?
C.
Now the symbol will show you how the macro variables have been resolved. Now tell me, still I know that it's a little bit confusing because I'm going to explain how it works back in the process later. Now this time I'm getting ampersand put. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. Can somebody tell me what is the value we're going to get? How many ampersands we have by the way? I have written 7 ampersand. 7 ampersand రాశారు కదా. లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ లాస్ట్ 2 ampersand ఏమవుతాయి ఇప్పుడు? 1 ampersand. నెక్స్ట్ 2 ఏమవుతాయి ఇప్పుడు? 1 ఏమవుతాయి ఇప్పుడు? 1 ampersand ఏమవుతుంది? ఈ 2 ampersand కలిసి ఏమవుతాయి ఇప్పుడు? Ampersand is equal to B. Now ultimately what we have now? Ampersand is equal to B. Now this is the value of it. Now see, if I select the program, this one, execute this one, now ultimately get is what the value you're getting? Now, so total 7 ampersands, right? Double ampersand is going to become 1 ampersand, second, third and fourth has become 1, fifth and sixth has become 1, total we have 3 ampersands, and then, ampersands has become 8. Now, with 3 A unandi, 3 first 2 ampersands same అవుతుంది ఇప్పుడు 1 ampersand అయింది. Ultimately ampersand A ఉంది, ampersand A is nothing but I told you B. Now ultimately it has become ampersand B. Ampersand B is equal to what now? C. So that's what we have expected, and that's what we have got. Understand this one? Now, this is called multiple ampersands concept. I tell you why we should use multiple ampersands in the real time. Now, this time, you know what? I'm getting ampersand. So, I'm getting percentage. I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, P. 10 ampersands P. So, 10 ampersands is what? 2 ampersands is going to become 1 ampersand. 1, then 1, then 1, then 1. 5 ampersand. So, this is going to become 1 ampersand. This is going to be 1 ampersand. And ampersand is going to become 6. So, 2 ampersand is going to become 1 ampersand. 6.
तो सोने को नमक को क्या लेना देना?
Now see, I'm executing this one line.
नींद आती। हाँ।
So
बोल रहे थे बेटा बोलो क्या करते?
become 5 ampersands. Out of these 5, the first has become 1 more ampersand. The next is going to become 1 more ampersand. So this ampersand B as C. Now we have a 2 ampersand. So that means 1 ampersand C. Ampersand C is equal to A. This is highest order of interview question. If you go to the answer 7.0, now the interview is going to have an idea that you know as better. But then you ask you in different formats, different ways. I'll show you recently one of the interviews, what is the question they ask.
कई को वहाँ बैठे तो वहाँ से उठाए, अब मैं यहाँ के सो रहा तो क्या करा मैं कई को
You know, Simba is an algebra